Hey folks, please enjoy this clip from our show, which you can find every single day at 4 p.m. Eastern exclusively on Rumble. We've been doing the best shows we've ever done, completely free of censorship and on a platform that actually supports us. You can also support us on Locals, where you can access a ton of exclusive content, movie riffs, as well as an archive of over 1,000 full episodes going back as far as 7 years. We've also teamed up with Merch Engine to bring you a new lineup of really awesome quality shirts, hoodies, and now even hats. So come check out our untethered, uncensored show on Rumble every single weekday at 4 p.m. Eastern. You stupid idiots.
Merch, please introduce our guest while I pull him up.
Yes, joining us for the first time on this fine program, Slumming It with the Boys today.
Slumming It with the Boys, yes.
You know him, he's a rapper, he's a political pundit. You see him a lot all over the internet. And he's also a Jesus Christ impersonator.
That's true.
An0maly is joining us today. What's up, man?
What's up, man? How you doing?
What's going on? Someone commented, they said, Merch said you've been dodging them 20 times. I was like, well, the 21st time I show up. So
yeah. What's up, man? Thanks for coming on. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the invite. I definitely, I saw you comment a few times. I just didn't know much about you. I obviously been following and seeing some stuff. So I want to start off and say this. To any Taylor Swift fans watching, I condemn both of these guys. They're horrific, and obviously I'm a huge Swiftie.
I can tell.
You know, and I'm just saying that out of self-preservation because I see how crazy they are.
He's the one that doesn't like Taylor Swift. I love T Swift because this whole Super Bowl got rigged because of her, and I won a lot of money this year.
Man, this is fucking.
I love it.
I understand why white women say they feel gaslit. That's what I feel right now. It's gaslit.
So I gotta start off by saying you really gained my respect in the last few years by pretty much like dividing your fan base and like losing a lot of support because you were pretty open about like, are we still doing this fucking Trump thing? Like, what are we doing here? Yeah. And I had to give you some respect there because you got a lot of heat. Like you were losing some followers and people were like, fuck you fucking, and it was like, I had to give you some props for that because, you know, you didn't let them go on the vaccine shit. And there was a lot of, I just remember when, right around the time we started kind of breaking from the Trump train, like, are we really still going to support this guy? You were one of the early ones, too, being like, hey, are we just going to overlook all this stuff? So we're just going to keep doing the Trump. All right, I guess we're doing the Trump thing. It was, it's been bizarre to watch. It's been bizarre to watch, like, the Trump people become sort of like the same cult of personality at the left is. And it's, they're willing to overlook a lot of sins, man.
Why do you think that happened?
I mean, definitely in media. I noticed in 2019 there was the whole like college campus thing with Charlie Kirk, right? Where Fuentes and his support, he was telling his supporters to go like ask him questions. And I had never thought anything about Charlie or Ben Shapiro, like as far as whatever. I disagree with them on some stuff, but they're fine. But then they were getting asked these questions, and instead of answering, they just went crazy. And I kept thinking to myself, I don't care if you like these people, but like they're asking questions and you're freaking out. And I just thought it was ridiculous. That was the first time I realized that when Republicans pass speech laws that are now being like talked about because of the Governor Abbott's thing, Republicans get mad when you talk about it. That was weird. Then the pandemic, you started to realize, like I'm a hip hop artist, I'm a news analyst, I'm a normal person, but also I try to do news analysis. I just try to be honest and analyze it. You started noticing there's a fork in the road. There's certain people that are professional Trump dick riders or, you know, bobbleheads. And a lot of them are, I think, to be honest, like political or media operatives where either they're working in some weird political way that I'm not. So like when Trump did the lockdown and extended it and said Sweden was bad, I'll never forget. I was like, wait, Sweden's bad for not locking down, but we're good for locking down. And I could just see some people were like, yeah, that's crazy. And then others were like, yeah, Trump, whatever he says, I'll say. And it's like, you know, that was definitely a huge fork in the road, but I've always tried to be honest. So I guess like certain people are playing a different game and I'm not playing that game. And that game is getting weirder and weirder and weirder for sure.
No, it is. And it's funny because you really started to see how, for me, what really bugs me the most is you'll have these, like, I think operatives, like you said on Twitter, that on the one hand, I'll be like, man, this vaccine is such fucking bullshit. Can you believe it? I have friends that died. And then you go, okay, but like, you know, like Trump let it happen and spearheaded it, right?
Not only let it happen, he gave Fauci an award on the way out.
Right. He gave him an award. And then they go, then I go, how do you explain that? And their excuse is always like, well, it was a rough time and this and that. I go, so you're saying that he's either easily controlled or stupid, and either one's not great. You know,
it literally wasn't just that he doubled down on the vax. He literally was like, on my way out of office, I am giving Dr. Fauci the coolest dude award. Only one of these have ever been given out by a president. And you're like, he's not a cool dude. He killed a lot of people. Killed a bunch of gay people in the 90s.
Oh yeah, Mersh has a good Trump.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that's a good Trump, bro. I
mostly rip off.
Average.
There's a comedian named Jason Scoop, and I mostly just rip his off because he doesn't really like the African Americans. Yeah, he's
yeah. The platinum
I follow this guy. I think he's more left leaning, but like I don't know. He's a journalist, Michael Tracy, and he's like arguing with people on Twitter today because all these people that like Trump are being like, "Yo, Mike Johnson betrayed us because of the foreign aid bill," and it's well known now that Trump helped whipped up votes with Lindsey Graham, and he's admitted that he's fine with it. Like all these politicians are saying Trump was behind the scenes getting people to vote for it, and their world is like Mike Johnson sucks. And Michael Tracy's out there yelling on Twitter. He's like, dude, Trump is in on it too. And you guys are like gaslighting your audience into thinking that he doesn't want this when he literally wants it. Like, I'm like, it's interesting to watch. I've already come to the conclusion that these people are just pathological liars and they're brainwashing their audience. But I like seeing Michael Tracy try to speak reality to these people on this topic, but they don't care. It's all like Trump fandom cosplay. And they got to be like, he didn't know. I think Steve Bannon said he got fooled or something, and it's like, I don't know. I feel like at this point it's like an IQ separation. Anybody with like an above average IQ has already seen through some of these things.
Yeah, but I like presidents that don't get fooled. Like, and that's no, but that's what bugs me is like, you'll have Loomer's a perfect example. You'll have Loomer screaming about how much Mike Johnson is terrible and he's a piece of shit and he's so bad, and then you're like, yeah, you're right, he is. Agree with you, no problem, I'm with you. But then when you go, here's Trump literally yesterday saying he supports the bill. Here's Trump saying, and then it's crickets, because it's like, I think the issue is that even if you like Trump, even if you're voting for Trump, the problem is if you're not intellectually honest and you're not saying like, look, he fucked up here. I will admit that he fucked up. And Trump on his end, look at the polls. Most of his supporters hated the vax. Even the ones that took it are regretting it and they hate it. All he has to do, and I think it's against Trump's very nature, is go, I fucked up. I made a mistake. I'm not saying that fixes anything.
He's incapable of
but
it.
At least you're taking accountability for what happened instead of saying, even like a week ago, it's the best vax that was ever created.
Well, I think it's like he doesn't have to, because no one cares. Like if people in media actually held him accountable, like they'll be like, you're so bad. I'm just trying to get results, and it's been working on Twitter recently, like with some like commentators like Matt Walsh all of a sudden cares about topics he mysteriously never cared about. That's cool. I appreciate it. But Trump, he doesn't have to, because he has this crazy, like I used to say, if Candace Owens or DC Drano or any of these Republican stars did what Trump did with the vaccine, their career's over.
Yep.
But only Trump could do that, and people. It's kind. I see the parallels between Taylor Swift. Like if you make a Taylor Swift joke, they're all freaking out at you for making a joke. But like it's like with him, he's got this Taylor Swift fandom that is wild. But it's the consequences of our country, so it's not as funny as like a pop star. You're like, dude, this is like my future. Come on, stop.
You're right. It's not as Swifties with Travis Kelce or whatever. You're right. It's a really good point. And my other issue is that is a great example is like the Israeli Wire, the Daily Wire. I
condemn that joke. That joke is a crime in like 15 countries.
It is, and you can buy your Israeli Wire shirts over at toplobster.com.
Is he selling them?
Yeah. Our shirts are in a site. Israeli Wire, but you posted it, and we actually played it a couple days ago, showing Ben Shapiro saying like, if you question the government, folks, if you question the government, you're fucking crazy, and how dare you? Tucker's asking questions. Asking questions is actually anti-Semitic. We're gonna get to the next thing, but first, let's talk about Bull and Branch sheets. And it's like, and then at the same time he goes, well, we were fooled. Another person, by the way, Ben Shapiro has never taken accountability for telling his followers get vax, stupid, never.
I'm more fascinated now with this new wave of like nuking Japan was awesome. People. Like, what is that about? Like you can say, hey, war is war, war is hell, things happen, right? But we went from like, hey, we had to do it to survive to like, no, it was fucking awesome that we nuked those chinks. It was awesome. We should have nuked more of them. And you're like, can't you just be a little more nuanced and say, hey, maybe it wasn't a great thing to do, but we had to do what we had to do to win the war. And as soon as Tucker comes out and says, maybe nuking Japan, and then remember that we saw a tweet the other day where the guy was like, oh, right, 9/11 was an inside job? Using nukes is bad? Like, what is wrong with you people? And I'm like, we are living in a crazy
He threw in the moon
world.
landing, too.
Oh, that was the other one.
We were reading that tweet. That's the funniest one.
We were reading
it's like,
that
if you
tweet.
question the moon landing, you hate America. It's like, dude, that's something that no one has ever said or thought. Like,
yeah, why are we questioning the moon landing?
I never questioned the moon landing. I mean, as recently as a few years ago, I was openly mocking Owen Benjamin for saying we faked the moon landing. And it's like, the more they insist we went on the moon, it's like, okay, you guys lie about
You're lying.
almost
now you're
everything.
100% lying.
And
now.
like Buzz Aldrin punched a man in the face over this. Why would you punch somebody in the face over it if you... You know, if you
I don't
really
know if
did
you've
it.
ever gone down that rabbit hole, because I'll never like I can't make a definitive statement, but the oldest active astronaut, Don Pettit, he has this video where he said, we'd go back to the moon in a nanosecond. Problem is we don't have the technology to do that. We used to, and we destroyed it, and it's a painful process to build it back again. And it's like, wait, it's a painful process to build back the data you had in 1969 with like a calculator computer, and now you have Google supercomputers, but you just can't get that data. And then, dude, if you just have 5 minutes of comedy and you're bored, Googling like what happened to the tapes is the funniest thing. They said that someone sold it at a garage sale. They said that some like intern got it. There's like 5 different stories in mainstream CNN. It's like, it's just like ridiculous. Like clearly they're lying about something. I personally don't think we went, but if you do, that's fine too. And I would never, like, if my friend was like, I think the moon is this, I'm like, oh, so you hate America, huh? Like,
yeah.
Like the parallels between that, it's trying to feed the boomer Generation X or whatever brain of like, that's when the white man was great, or that's when the Patriots were crushing, when they were playing golf on the moon. And it's like, I don't know, bro, like that. I'm not an expert of space travel or even air travel, but that little thing they have, that said that, it just like make that go to the moon again, and then I'll believe it. But until then, it looks like tinfoil in my opinion. But
boomers are so defensive of all that kind of stuff because when they start figuring out that all their greatest accomplishments were lies, it's really hard to it's hard to live with. Think about it. If you start thinking like, because
then boomers realize, wait, the only legacy we have is like reverse mortgages,
right? And the CIA.
You know what
we
I
have
mean?
reverse
Like, wow,
mortgages in the CIA.
Huh?
Wonderful.
It's so true, bro. You guys are crushing. I never even thought about that, but yeah, that's probably why, because they don't have any real accomplishments that weren't possibly a lie.
They want to be Cypher in the Matrix, and just they want to live in it, and they want to be in it, and they want to stay in it, because when they figure out JFK, fucking a bunch of Vietnam, let's talk about wars, the Richard Nixon shit, which was all bullshit. They go, wow, our entire, what do you have, Woodstock?
Yeah, boomers.
Which I think is a CIA psyop too, to be honest with you. But whatever. That's
boomers' entire accomplishments were buying a house for $20,000 when you were able to buy a house and our money was backed by gold, and then selling the house and getting an RV and then not leaving anything to their kids. Like that's pretty much their accomplishments.
Yeah,
dude, I feel bad because I was getting in. I have a big audience on Facebook, and like the boomers have been good to me. But whenever I post like Governor Abbott sucks, they're like, "Shut up, liberal, MSNBC," and I'm like, they love controlled opposition. Like, and then they start talking shit to me, and then I kind of get annoyed. I'm like, "Stop, boomer!" I start getting a little rude because I'm like, "You already did all this stuff. I'm not blaming you, but it's kind of your fault." Can you at least just shut up when everyone's trying to fix it? Like, you gotta ruin it on your way out for everybody realizing and seeing through this stuff. Like, I'm always like, how is Dan Crenshaw winning elections? And then I look at my Facebook comments and I'm like, oh, that's why elections. Like,
Dan Crenshaw's winning elections because, well, the Mossad's funding him, and also because very simple, boomers will still. If you have the war vet thing, and especially if you're injured, boomers are already like, well, they could do no wrong. I talk about this all the time, but I think one of the biggest mistakes that we made after 9/11 was deifying a lot of agencies. We deified police. We deified the military. And I'm not saying the military is good or bad. That's not my point. but we made them these things that the Republicans aren't allowed to attack. And then when you know it, all the thin blue line people, a lot of these cops are arresting you for wearing a mask. And then you're like, oh my God, I thought it would help you, but it doesn't, because I think that great example. You brought up a controlled opposition. Last night I was at the gym and I look on Fox News and on Jesse Waters, it's just Mike Johnson there talking about like Israel's the best and it's fucking rock and roll. And Jesse's like, no, yeah, you're right. Israel rules, and it's really, really difficult to see, to go like, and then you know your relatives. This isn't just everybody has a relative, an old person in their family who just sits there and watches Fox News, and you're like, man, if you watch it for a second, you're like, no wonder the way they think the way they think.
Yeah, you know what?
Right.
I believe Israel is kind of cool. I just want them to pay for their own lunch.
Yeah, sounds
That's
good.
all.
Right.
That's all I
and
want.
also the speech laws in America are a little suspect. It's like, you know, dude, I had someone on my Facebook and I think he lived there, but he was like saying all this stuff, and it's like, dude, I don't know. Like, I would never, if you passed speech laws in Israel that said you can't say Americans own things, or you can't say like Americans influence politics, I would never like comment on your page and then like shit talk you for talking about it. I'd be like, no, that makes total sense. Like, if I were you, yeah, I would not want that in my country. So I think it's the like lopsided kind of alliance. It's not the fact that people don't want to be aligned at all. It just doesn't seem like a fair deal in the eyes of a lot of people. With the Fox News stuff, I think another issue is now people are starting to realize that like Fox is not it, even though there's still a lot of older people that watch it, but they're watching people that are just like regurgitated Fox News. I want to get you guys' take on this, because I noticed, and I have a few theories about it, but you know, when Joe Rogan got $250 million, I think all the sellouts were like, oh, that's more money than we're making. Mm-hmm. So now you have this push where not only people are trying to get into podcasts, but they're trying to get into independent news because they see that these guys are crushing it and just making astronomical amounts of money with very little overhead. So now I'm looking at people and it's like, oh, the new podcasters are going to trick all these people who ran away from Fox News, and they're like, I'm going here for this, but they're so easy to trick. And it's like any little bit of scrutiny that you provide, people always try to gaslight you and say that you're jealous or that you're so hateful. And it's like, no, I'm just like aware of the dynamic that's going on. And they don't understand that there's people out there that will lie to them for money or lie to them for social status. So what do you think about that in independent media? Like, you know,
it's funny because right before the break, we have this entire segment, which is Forget About It with Chris Cuomo, where we just watch Chris Cuomo try to be a podcaster. And that's what we've talked about it all the time. And it wasn't even just media outlets, but Mersh and I talk about the time, celebrities too. Hollywood has infiltrated podcasting because they go, wait a second, I don't have to sit in a hot trailer all day to act. I could just do a podcast and people to listen. I think like every medium, it becomes cool for a little bit, and then after a while, the old guard takes over. Look at YouTube. YouTube was awesome. YouTube used to be cool. And then it became something else, you know.
What's your guys' read on both? I want both, like, you know, PBD hired Chris Cuomo. Like, what's your read on that?
I mean, I don't know. As far as I didn't know that part. I mean, I know he was. I thought he was just doing his own. I thought he was a free agent.
Yeah, his T-shirt
says. But no, I got to agree. Like, there has been for years they've been kind of infiltrating. I think it's less about the money. I think for the people doing the podcast, it's about the money. But they're being controlled by other people. And specifically in the world of conspiracy podcasts, you know, there's a whole new breed of so-called like conspiracy free thinking like podcasts, and they're all like former celebrities, or they're like these, and they're gatekeepers. They're basically gatekeeping. They'd rather waste your time being like, "Whoa, dude, did aliens build the pyramids, bro? Like smoking weed, dude," instead of like, "Hey, really though, how did the Building 7 fall?" Like, I kind of want an answer to that. I don't give a shit who built the pyramids. That was a long time ago. I want to know why Building 7 fell. And they won't talk about that stuff. They won't talk about AIPAC. They won't talk about, you know, the ADL. And they won't talk about influence in politics. They won't talk about that stuff. It's always, bro, what if they, like, smoked weed on the moon, dude, with aliens? And you're like, oh, Jesus, here we go with this.
No,
it feels like...
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, like, years ago, aliens, like, when you're, like, in your teens and stuff, like, that's the conspiracy that's interesting. Like, what if aliens existed? Now, that seems like the psyop. I agree. Like, anytime people are talking about that, it just seems very, like, yeah, let's look over here
Yeah.
and just speculate. Even Rogan talking to Tucker is funny because Tucker kind of like was being pretty boss about it, but like Rogan's like they could create a god, and Tucker's like they're not God. Like
Yeah.
technology's not God. It's just rehashing what we're doing. But yeah, I ignore like celebrities completely, so it's hard for me when I see like a new one do something or like rebranding as the alien guy. I just tune it out like
Yeah,
immediately.
especially I hate the alien stuff, whether it's true or not. We are fighting like a 2-3 front war right now. We're trying to start World War III. We just printed trillions of dollars. We're basically economically in like the Weimar Republic era now. And then you want to talk about fucking UFOs? Like it almost makes me want to punch you in the face. Like we have way bigger things, way bigger fish to fry right now than whether or not there's UFOs.
No, it's true, and it's when a lot of these people, I'm sure you've noticed this with what I call it the grifting right. A lot of people, you mentioned Charlie Kirk's a great example. A lot of people that were afraid to say anything to be called anti-Semitic or oh Mo, you can't point out Israel. Oh, people thought that we were getting strikes 4 years ago. Now that it's a little more comfortable to do it, they're going like, actually, you may have a point. You know, Megyn Kelly literally did a show on NBC where she's like, these are the transgender youths, and they're so great, and they're so awesome. And all she says is, I was wrong. No, you're not. You're grifting to a new thing, at least in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
It's everyone is now saying things that now we start laughing. We're like, yeah, we were saying that in 2017. Like, what the fuck? This is not new. It's just saying, even Charlie Kirk was like, oh, actually, maybe Israel's not that great. You're like, shut the fuck up. You need to shut the fuck up because
he questioned their event that must not be questioned. Where I was like, dude, that's bold for him being the position he's in. But he said even yesterday, he's like, free speech is free speech, and it's like, dude, he was like the ringleader of basically quashing dissent to those laws being passed in 2019, and now that they're happening and being used in public, now he's against it. Megyn Kelly got torched by Glenn Greenwald. They talked about Israel and Palestine, and she's just like 20 leagues out of her league. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely, in one way it's good that people are talking about it, but you could tell right through somebody where like Megyn Kelly was just using like rehashed neocon talking points, and Glenn Greenwald's like, dude, I'm way too smart and honest to like lose to it to you rehashing Sean Hannity like 2001 talking points. Like, you got to get better thought processes to out debate me, and she was way out of her league. But it does seem like Megyn Kelly is giving better interviews to people in the sense of like she's like the furthest level people can go. Like, she asked Trump about the vaccine, she asked the questions, but then it's like, oh look, we did it, okay, now we can move on from that. And it's like, well, you didn't really push back that hard, you just pushed back harder than everyone else. So yeah, her new role is interesting. She does give better interviews than some, but she is for sure on the major topics, she's just like everyone else. Just like RFK is mysteriously exactly the same as everybody else on the topic that actually matters.
And you mentioned that he mentioned the Jewish event that shouldn't be questioned, and that could be like 7 things, bro. Because like anything you bring
9/11,
9/11, the USS Liberty. Look, let's not go down the list. I don't want this to turn the whole thing, but my point is that it's being called anti-Semitic for asking a question has made the word anti-Semitic completely worthless. It's a worthless word because if you're going to throw it around for like, like Ben Shapiro brings up, you're asking questions about something, not here at the Daily Wire. We didn't put up with that. You're anti-Semitic. You're fired, Candace Owens. And it's like, even Candace Owens wasn't somebody that was ever really talking about until very recently. Good for her. I'm glad she did. But it just feels like it's comfortable now. When it gets comfortable, as you said earlier, that just leads to more people infiltrating that group of people. Let's be realistic here. The right is the right grifting zone is basically the same, is turning into the MSM. What's the difference? It's who you know, it's who you signal boost, and here's your talking points.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, with that, I had a conversation with someone the other day because they were more on the side of like, let's call these left-wing protesters anti-Semitic, and this is anti-Semitic, and they hate and that. But they were conservative, so I tried to explain to them, that's kind of like BLM called everybody racist for 5 years, and then like nobody really thinks much of the word anymore because they overused it and people are desensitized. And like they were trying to be like, no, it's different with anti-Semitism. And I'm like, even if you perceive it as different or more important, like it doesn't mean it's working. And that's the part that's weird to me. Like, I have a good heart. So in 2019, I was explaining like, not only is this against the First Amendment, but I don't think it's even going to work. Like, there's been interviews for decades where I think the Shah said to Mike Wallace, he goes, not only is what the media is doing bullying Americans like not good for America, it's actually not even good for Israel because it's going to turn public opinion against them. And that's what's happening now is you have most of the left is against them. A lot of the left-wing protesters are Jewish kids, but they're saying that they hate Jews. And it's like, it's as dumb as saying Candace hates black people because she disagrees with them on a topic. You don't have to agree with the left-wing students that don't know what gender they are, but just screaming racism or anti-Semitism is just a ridiculous way to make yourself look honest. And that's what people do when they don't know what they're talking about. Like Governor Abbott is right about a lot of stuff, but on this, he seems to not be right, or it doesn't make sense. So I don't know what the end game is, because I'm always just curious. Like what do people think they're going to get out of this? Because now that word, it went from 8-9 months ago or 2-4 years ago being like a career ender to like now, they've called Elon Musk anti-Semitic, Donald Trump anti-Semitic, like Tom Cotton's been called anti-Semitic, Ted Cruz has been called anti-Semitic. Everyone's anti-Semitic all the time. This culture war that's like Tucker and Candace versus the DeSantis leftovers on Twitter. It's just like I don't. I guess that's what lack of self-awareness gets you, is like they don't realize that they're just watering the word down, and it's actually like not beneficial long-term at all. It's a very short-term solution. So I don't know like where this goes, but it is interesting to see that now it's becoming mainstream. Matt Walsh is talking about it, and like, what are they going to fire him? Are they going to call him anti-Semitic?
He's talking about it. He's talking about it at gunpoint, is what it feels like now. I mean, I'm just telling you, guys, I've been following you covering and him finally talking about it, and it does feel like he's like, all right, so I'm like, yeah, fine, maybe this is bad, and you're like, okay, bro, but like now it's bad. Like, are you not paying attention? I guess my point is like, were you not paying attention before? Like, this is happening. How is this not on your radar? Is maybe it's by design. I don't know. I know you have a heart out, man. So if you want to get your plugs out, man,
it's cool. No, I could say for a little bit more.
Sure, yeah, cool.
But just going to your point, honestly, like the ADL, I think is the best example of like you guys stoke more hatred for Jewish people.
I know,
but every time Jonathan Greenblatt tweets or tries to cancel somebody, he creates a new anti-Semite, and it's like, it's when you put bad shit out there, people are going to eventually just go like, dude, I wasn't really thinking about this
Rabbi
before,
Shmuley, but now Rabbi Shmuley.
Dude, Rabbi Shmuley, I tweeted this a while back. I was like, does he have a Jewish friend that can just take him aside and be like, dude, chill. Like, just chill, man, because what you're doing on Twitter is not good for any of us.
Yeah, I was on the Walsh tip. Like, I know that he's probably saw these things, but I think in 2019, 2020, depending where you are, depending what you listen to, whether it's because you're making money or just your social circles, it doesn't seem that pressing. Like, it doesn't seem that important because there's other things going on, and they're passing the laws but not using them. It's like with the COVID lockdown. I think people started paying attention when they were locked down. But a lot of people, including myself, I didn't even realize Trump passed an executive order for Big Pharma in 2019. I saw them trying to mandate vaccines in California and New Jersey, but I didn't notice certain things because they weren't there. So, I mean, that's the best kind of excuse I could say, where I think like Charlie and Ben obviously knew because of like the little culture wars. But I think with Matt, like, like, you don't look there, because if you look there, not only is there barely anything to gain because it's not even like a front facing issue right now, but also there's the risk of being called all these names. But now, because it's a front and center issue, it's more digestible, it's more tolerable, and it's more like, okay, I guess I could talk about it now because it's like right out there. And I do think that Matt, everybody has their own agenda, but I do think that he means well. It's just, everyone's playing a certain game where it's like, what game do you want to play? What are you going to, because there's certain topics that people just don't want to cover. Like, I'm already and maybe it's like, I'm already covering these topics. Everybody hates me for it. Why do I need to get hated for this topic? Like, he goes so hard at LGBT stuff. Maybe he just never wanted to open up that other rabbit hole, because it's like a whole nother list of people that are going to lie about you. So it's interesting to see that he is talking about it now. And I just have to say, I think it's overall good, because he doesn't seem like he's being like deceptive about it. He's addressing it. I haven't seen his new one, but to me, that's kind of the culture shifting. But that's what I'm definitely paying attention for, is people swooping in, similar to a Donald Trump, to take the energy of like all of that and then do nothing with it. I don't think Republicans can afford another like media company doing that, being like, yeah, Fox sucks, and we're called Fuchs News, and you're like, it's the same thing with a U instead of an O. Like that's the last thing.
It's because it's the same.
need.
It's the same group of people, man. But nobody in DC is doing anything that their constituents want. They don't. They're passing money for Ukraine. They're all look, man.
I was joking earlier about like writing letters to your representatives, and I'm like, people still do that, which is hilarious to me. Like they're not reading your letters, they don't care. They get their marching orders.
Their ass with the letters,
yeah,
probably.
They have lobbyists that tell them what bill to sign.
Yeah,
they sign the bill. It's pretty simple.
They're at some Eyes Wide Shut party doing some fucking weird. They're like, yeah, I'm gonna read the letter from fucking somebody from Poughkeepsie. They don't give a flying fuck. Oh, they're having a weird. Remember what's his face? I forget his name, but the wheelchair guy. He was like, yeah, I came out here and they told me to have an orgy and then immediately they panicked. They're like, get rid of primary this guy.
Madison Cawthorn.
Madison Cawthorn. They're like, primary this guy right fucking now. Right now.
He's like, you didn't let me finish. He's like, I'm down. I just didn't know the address of where it was at. And they're like, oh, okay, sorry. We didn't mean to primary you that quick. He's like, dude, I'm down. I didn't know where it was at. I figured I would tweet it. I was a little drunk trying to get directions.
He's like, dude, I was just gonna ask you if it was wheelchair accessible. That's all I wanted to know.
Dude, I'm down. I don't feel anything under my waist anyway, so it's not like it matters to me.
Dude, it's I mean, that was definitely suspect. And what was that one guy, dude? It went over my head. It seemed like such an op, but that George Santos guy, God, like he seems super gay and like but like he would vote very like Republican, and they kicked him out. And then there were so many bills that if he were there to vote with Republicans, it wouldn't have passed. And I'm like, dude, him buying Botox is the worst thing going on in our country. Like it's definitely a super gay thing to do, but as far as like, you know, I'm pretty sure Nancy Pelosi's fucking up a little more than that. No,
I think they're all gay. So like when he was like, oh, he's gay, I'm like, I don't, bro. Lindsey Graham's gay. Like who gives? Like they're all gay.
Yeah, all these Republicans voted to kick out George Santos, and guess what? The seat flipped back to the Democrats.
Yeah, it did.
Right, and that seat has cost us so many. Like, it wasn't there one that was exactly tied recently. It would have, if George Santos were there, it would have went the right way. And like. Yeah, like he might have been, you know, he might have been playing with himself to OnlyFans and getting a few too many Botox. But I mean, you know, like if that's what it takes to vote our way, it is what it is.
Now his seat is being filled by some intern butt fucking a guy and filming it. So it's like whatever. I guess that was fine.
Crazy,
and that's the thing. Like, all he did was what all these other people do, and they do it even worse. It's just that like he didn't play ball. That's what it comes down to.
That one was crazy. That like. They literally just had sex in the chamber or something like that. I like try to not look at that stuff because it just fills my feet. And I'm like that.
You didn't share gay porn like all these other so-called conservative content creators.
Isn't it the worst? You're like. It is true. It's like, bro, all this gay propaganda is bad. But like every conservative was sharing the gay sex video. And
as a Christian conservative, I think you all need to see these guys having butt sex in the Senate.
I actually tweeted out and go, hey, can all my conservative friends please stop sharing gay porn on my timeline? Dude, that would be awesome.
It was wild.
That would
be like, in order to beat the deep state, my eyes have to be glued to this transgender drag queen half naked for 5 hours a day, 4 days a week. In order to beat up the deep state. And you're like, you don't have to put like, dude, it was in my feed. Like I follow some liberals, like even Glenn Greenwald. I'm pretty sure he's gay and liberal. Like he doesn't share gay stuff.
I mean, his husband knows. Yeah, he is a gay. He's married to a dude.
But I'm saying like all the hardline like Trumper accounts are always sharing the gay stuff. Where I'm like, in order to ungay my feed, I'm gonna have to mute or unfollow a lot of you. And like and they're like, but who's gonna beat the deep state if we don't share this? And I'm like, I'm not saying you can't share it. I'm not even telling you not to. I just don't want it in my feed personally. It's a personal preference of what I want to see at 8 o'clock in the morning.
I'm sorry.
It's so disgusting.
Eyes to freaking a social media.
It's so disgusting. It makes me so angry. I gotta watch it again. I'm gonna watch it again.
Watch it on
really
loop
makes me
all
mad.
day.
Wow, you're not willing to watch a ton of gay porn to save this country? Okay, libtard cuck. How dare like it's like why are we doing this? It's like I don't want to watch it.
They're like, have you looked at all 900 pictures of Hunter Biden's cock? And you're like, no. You're like, you've looked at all 900? They're like, of course. I'm fighting Pelosi. I've been looking at Hunter's cock for all day. You're like, Dude, one is enough, bro. You don't have
I've
to look
seen
at the
some
whole hard
MAGA
drive.
accounts who have their banner as like Hunter Biden smoking crack and getting a blowjob. I'm like,
naked.
based, I guess.
Yeah, I watched the Chinese lady giving him a foot job, and I just kind of giggled once, and I went, "Well, that was kind of funny," and then I moved on. You know what I mean?
Dude, I haven't seen. I've only seen. It's kind of like Taylor Swift. Like everything I've heard, like it is like against my will sort of stuff.
Of
You know,
course.
it's like with
I'm
that,
sorry about
everything
that.
I've seen has been in my feed. No, I haven't even heard any of the new songs yet. I'm sure I'll hear them around. Like she's very popular, and one of my barista homies, he loves Taylor Swift. So like I always joke with him. I'm like, dude, it sucks. Taylor Swift started the Israel-Palestine war, and he's like, what? And I'm like, no, I'm totally joking. Like he looked like super. I was like, no, I'm totally kidding. He didn't laugh, so I was like, let me not joke about that because it's you joke about war is not like funny to some people, but I thought it was funny to say Taylor started it, right?
She did. Here's why. I'll connect it for you. Okay, Soros bought her music, and then that made her really mad against Jews, and she started the October 7th was caused by Taylor Swift. There you go. And flat Earth theory, I can prove it. Look at her ass, fattest humanly possible.
Where do you think her fans that hate you, like where do you think they're from? Like everywhere,
honestly,
like all over the world.
No, dude, I've had people yelling me in like Portuguese. I've had people, Asian people. I've had people from a lot of Europeans. Everyone yells at me. A lot of things they have in common. They're dumb girls, but a lot of gay guys. A lot of gay guys really, really, really love Taylor Swift. They really love her.
Forget where this girl's from, but like I met her like not from America, and like she asked me if I like Taylor Swift, and I was like, she's all right, and like she was like, it was like game over. Like it was like, oh, I was
devastated.
Like, I'm not saying I hate it. I was just, it's not like my thing. It's like, oh, I was like, I have to love Taylor Swift in order for you to like me. That's crazy. But like, I think her fan base in other countries is even crazier, where it's like they love her in America, but yeah, some of these other countries, they go nuts.
They will kill for her.
No, they will. I've got like 3 death threats. It's super weird. These people like were wanting to dox me and stuff, and I'm like, I don't even really care that much about this. It's just funny how mad you are. I mean, that's the truth. It's
Dude,
just,
I mean,
yeah.
I gotta listen to the new album on loop 50 times now in order to like figure out if you're right or wrong.
No,
but I side with them. You know, they're right. She's
you're right. Hey man, protect yourself.
You're a horrible critic who just never could, compose the music that Taylor.
Hey! I don't want to hear it from the well-known anti-Semite. Okay, bud. I've seen your comments. I've seen people screaming at you.
Anti-science too.
Anti-science. You're anti-science too. Sorry, you're a lot of things. Aren't these things so worthless now? Getting called these things is hilarious.
Yeah, it bothered me at first. I mean, the first time it was the pharmaceutical stuff. They said I'm a conspiracy theorist who thinks that the government used the pandemic for control, and I was like, the government. Wait, I thought everyone knew that. Like everyone knew the government. It's not.
Thought it was a matter of record.
So I was like, okay, and then like the anti. I'm trying to think what spurred the anti-Semite stuff. I think it was me interviewing Vivek, or it was probably just talking to Candace, because like I guess
it was Candace. I saw that.
It's probably just talking to Candace, because like Candace, like they've been going nuts on. I think since before, I guess she did a video recently where she explained like the history of it, and I didn't even know certain things. Like she had said something on stage with Charlie Kirk years ago, like either by mistake or just like out of context, and they took it. So it's been like a 5-year. Like kind of like whole thing with her where I wasn't even aware of certain things where they had like taken out of context or got mad at. But yeah, that was like, I was like, I can't imagine what she was dealing with, because like it was just like shrapnel from whatever like they were doing with her, and for her to just kind of go the other direction and be like, I'm gonna just make 20 videos about it in a row. I was like, and it was such a fascinating moment, like to see like, Ben, do you allow that to happen and show that you can show both sides, or is it time to like part because it's not on brand with the Daily Wire? Like that was such an interesting like moment in conservative culture that I think a lot of people took. Me, I'm not that popular. Candace, I feel like she's very, she has the best chance of getting to T Swift level of like fandom. I think
she probably has more rhythm than her too.
Well, she is a horrible anti-Semite because I remember on her show she kept bringing on these rabbis and giving them like equal time,
right?
As she debated them, let them make their points, you know, and then refuted their points. And she's clearly just.
It's super weird that she had a conversation with somebody. Isn't that terrible? No,
I
but
love that when they were condemning her for bringing on a rabbi and then having a polite debate with him, and they're like,
I think right. He wrote an article. He wrote an article, and dude, that's like the dream of when people write about you. You're like, I just want to talk to you, because like you're saying all these things about me. Like I don't even know who you are. Like, can we have a chat about it? And most journalists they don't do podcasts because like they can't do podcasts, and that's their whole like thing. So I thought that was cool that he actually was willing to do it because most wouldn't. But you know, Candace is a different beast. That's the interesting part. Is like she's so popular, and you know, it's easier to just like sweep other people under the rug. Where with her, it's not easy. I mean, it's like impossible. So I'm interested to see what her next like move is as far as content and stuff, or if she signs to somebody or goes independent. It's just that to me now, that's almost more interesting than politics. Like I get it. Mike Johnson hates me. Like Governor Abbott like lies all the time. I'm kind of almost over like even caring about any of them. So I'm more interested to see what she does.
Well, who are you gonna vote for? I asked this because honestly, I think the elections are rigged, and I think the elections were stolen. But are you even gonna vote this next election?
Right now, if it were today, no. I got to see what Trump says. My kind of hardline stance was like, if they could say they're gonna stop selling out the First Amendment, then I'll vote. But if they can't, then I won't. But when I saw Joe Biden say he was going to put the top capital gains tax to 44%, I'm like, dude, that's diabolical.
Jesus
like that,
Christ.
you know, what is it now? It's like 15% or something.
My God,
or like,
they're gonna kill us.
I mean, 40 something. I think Canada did 66.6% in the top bracket. I mean, that's just straight robbery.
That's a great way also to get people to just not invest.
Yeah,
that's a great way to get people to just
course.
not put their money in the market. You'd be like,
Dude,
all right,
I
fine.
would never buy a stock again if I knew it was going to get taxed over even 25 or 30% capital gains. Like 66. Why would you ever invest? Like that's the dumbest. I don't. So maybe Trump. If Biden, like it's almost like I'm watching and it's seeing like who messes up more. Or like who. I'm definitely not voting for Biden, but it's either nothing or Trump. But I usually
I'm
vote
selfish.
Republican.
I'm selfish for the very reason that you said is that I want the economy to be better, and I think Trump. Look, I wouldn't vote, but out of the two, I want at least the economy to hold off for a little longer. You know what I mean? And I think that to me and. Trump's,
I don't have quite enough ammo yet.
Trump's upside was his foreign policy was good. It really was. In terms of not getting us in any wars, got to give it to him. So I would say that, but it's really tough. I'm a big proponent, and we talk about on the show that it's important to vote, even if you vote at the top of the ticket. Your local elections mean a lot. Like that shit's your sheriff and stuff, because those are the people where the very few people that stood back against these gun laws or even the COVID stuff were local sheriffs. Like they were the ones like, no, fuck you, we're not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And
our sheriff was one of the ones that came out.
Grady
and was
Judd.
like, we're not enforcing this shit. Like, do it yourself.
Yeah, no,
if the government wants to do it, you do it. Like, and that was awesome.
Local is important. I definitely do want to vote because, same with I live in an area that they were not like policing it, which was very helpful. I guess I want to ask you guys. I got to run, but I do want to ask. Like with foreign policy, I do identify. Although Trump, he's fascinating because it's like he does like two things at once. He's playing both sides, but clearly he has. If there's anybody, it's not going to be Biden. It almost seems like he has the best chance of finessing something when it comes to Ukraine and Russia, and then also Israel, Palestine. Do you think Trump could get them to stop taking our tax money and stop fighting, or do you think he's just gonna like keep doing it?
I think that if we're dealing with the same Trump that we dealt with last time, I think Trump can be easily manipulated into. One thing that Tucker did say once that I think we'd agree with is that it's very easy to flatter him. If you flatter Trump, he will do whatever you want.
That's why Lindsey Graham is still around.
Right.
He's just like, oh, I love your cologne.
Yeah, exactly.
I love them shoes. Where did you get those?
Oh, you're so handsome.
By the way, we need another $60 billion for Ukraine. And he's just like, you got it, bud.
Yeah.
It's a good Lindsey Graham too. He definitely is pretty flamboyant like that. You know,
He
he's
sounds
like low key flamboyant.
He sounds like a
Confirmed
plantation owner.
bachelor.
A plantation owner.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
he
why.
really does,
That's
like
why I
slightly
always
gay
do the
plantation
fanning,
owner.
'cause
Yeah.
I always picture him with a mint julep.
it's a hot one. It's hot as the Dickens out there tonight.
Having an Arnold Palmer on a fucking old, like, you know, in an
Yeah.
old ranch house on the
Yeah.
deck.
Like he's got nice shoes, but they're like a little too nice and too shiny.
Yes,
Where you're like,
yes.
you know, you're
Yeah.
like, which way are you really leaning there?
He
my
wears
guy?
a kerchief, and everyone goes, "He's a confirmed bachelor, isn't he?"
They told me don't wear white after Labor Day, and I told them I broke all the rules, honey.
Shit, man. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for being on, dude. We really do appreciate
Yeah,
it.
legendary energy on Twitter or X,
Yeah,
as the kids are
that
calling
works.
it.
And then Dreamer links is all the links. But yeah, I wasn't purposely dodging. I wasn't really super familiar. But also, I was like, you know, I'll roll the dice. I seen your tweets. I thought they were funny, and
Thanks, man.
you both seemed on point as far as like, you know, ethically. I figure I kind of had it pinned down. I listened to a little bit of it. I figured you guys were funny, doing some comedy, but definitely, you know, I felt comfortable coming on. I was
Thanks,
like,
man.
I don't want to seem like I'm dodging. I don't want to seem like I'm evading. You know,
That's
I'm
what I
not-
told everybody. I said, he's fucking dodging us.
Yeah.
And if I ever see him,
No,
it's
it's
on
cool,
site.
it's cool.
No, man. This is great, dude.
I was unfamiliar, but once I started getting a little more familiar with the scene, I was like, all right, let's go in.
Thanks.
And yeah, I'm gonna
brother.
listen to that Taylor Swift album.
You should, bro. And I want your review. I want that hot review. Thanks, man. I really appreciate
Dude,
it.
I'm like it's so funny just seeing like anytime like these, because I'm kind of tapped out of like pop culture,
Right.
But like people like Beyonce, Taylor Swift, like I remember when like Owen Benjamin was joking about India and all the Indians are coming at him. It's just like fascinating to see these groups
That
of like
was
people
funny.
that are just swarm on Twitter where you're like, if you don't talk about it, no one will say anything, but it's like a bee and honey. Like you say something and people swarm. I just find it so fascinating where it's like, you know, we're all in our own kind of like political echo chambers usually, but the second you weigh in on another topic and it goes too viral, then people just swarm, and it's like it's so wild. You know, it is funny to watch. Like
They get so mad. It is hilarious. to
Owen
see.
Benjamin's in Indian stuff's the funniest he's ever been.
It's fucking hilarious.
That was the funniest he's
It
ever
was
been.
Hilarious.
dude, the whole
That'd be
continent
howling.
was like going nuts, and it was like it was wild because it was just like there's a billion people or whatever, and it's like it was almost like Power Rangers. Like the light went out, they megamorphed, and then they were just coming for it. And like he was not backing down at all. That was a funny week, dude. Like that was definitely a
Turkish
good week,
people
but-
threatened to kill us once because we made a joke during the earthquake, and it's some Turkish news site shared it on their like big Twitter, and we were getting death
jeez.
threats. They're gonna fuck our mothers, and this it was very
a
very
lot of
odd.
they were going to fuck our mothers and then kill us.
Middle Easterners have a very specific way to like come after you, and it's a lot of fucking your mother.
Dude, I mean, it's like whole cultures of like, you know, how they feel if you just cross their threshold.
Yeah.
I think I got in trouble once in like Australia. I covered some Australian story, but it had to do with like Aboriginals and some like, and it just got crazy. And I stepped into a culture where I wasn't even aware of, just trying to like report a basic story. And like, you start realizing the dynamic is not the same as it is in America. And I'm like, I don't want to be. I'm not going to apologize because I'm not wrong, but like I did not mean to even like I don't even live in Australia. Like I don't care, you know. Like please leave me alone. And they always do after like a week. But yeah, it definitely is dicey when you like chop it up with a foreign country that you're just completely oblivious
That
of.
you
Like,
have no
why
you have
they're
no
even
idea
attitude.
what's going on. Yeah, I get I get it. We played the Tetris music during one of the buildings falling down during the thing, and they got during the earthquake, and they got really pissed, and it was just like
I mean that's definitely.
But to be fair and to defend ourselves, it was funny, and I think that's a joke. Everything's a joke. We look, our show's a comedy show, and at the end, that's what it is. And Gilbert Godfrey made the first 9/11 joke 3 days after 9/11, and that's always will be my defense.
Yeah, we're not here to fix the culture. We're here to make this hellhole more bearable for our audience.
Remember
for
that
2 hours.
Remember
a
that
day.
band
That's why
that
we're
played.
here.
Remember the band that played during the Titanic? That's us. It's sinking, and we're just playing the. We're playing.
We're just giving you some nice violin music before you drown.
Yeah, but hey, man, thank you so much for being on.
Yeah,
dude. This
dude,
was
thanks
a
a
lot of
lot.
fun.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We hope to have you on again, dude. This was a lot of fun.
All right, thank you, my friends. Appreciate you.
Take it easy, dude. Later.
That was fun.
But that was great.
That was very cool.
Yeah, super based.
I'm putting An0maly on the better than I expected list.
Hell yeah.
Because we book guests sometimes where I'm like, oh, that guy seems like kind of serious.
Yeah.
But he was fun.
It was fun.